What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to the Showtime Forum post-game report. This is your boy, Devon Johnson. You can catch me on Twitter, on social media handle, DEVONJSON. And yes, the Lakers have taken game 2. And it looked scary for a minute. It didn't look like we were going to be able to do it. But we made it happen today. And so it got a great start to the game. Of course, the Lakers did the things that we hate towards the middle, and were able to close it out in the end. There's plenty to talk about tonight. We have a few things we're going to talk about. Of course, we're going to talk about our boy, Markieff Morris, otherwise known as Chief Keef, and his surprise debut tonight in the bubble. We've been waiting to see him really just emerge in this lineup and really make his mark. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk about the defense that the Lakers played today in the bubble zone. We're also going to talk about Anthony Davis coming out aggressive in that first and second quarter and really dominating. And of course, we're going to talk about our boy Rajon Rondo tonight. And I got to tell you, man, out of everything that I saw tonight, the biggest thing that got me excited, sorry about that. The biggest thing that got me excited for the most part was the way the Lakers came out. And to be honest, I was nervous about how the Lakers were going to come out simply because we weren't sure if they were going to respond well. Of course, we saw in the other playoff game with the Clippers and the Nuggets. The Nuggets got humiliated in that first game, and then they come back in the second game and they show themselves with some fight. And so we were looking to see if the Lakers were going to do just that. And of course, we can get into the stats. We can talk about all the stuff that went into that. But Lakers win 117-109. Anthony Davis with 34 points. LeBron James with 28 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists with 4 steals. Almost had a triple-double. And was playing incredible defense. It wasn't great from 3 tonight, but it doesn't matter because he was good when it matters. And at the very end of the game, hitting that dagger 2 on the turnaround in the paint, doing LeBron-ish things as he always does. And this is once again one of the reasons why it's so important to have somebody not only who's super gifted and talented as he is, but with incredible playoff and championship experience, so that even when you get punched in the mouth in the third quarter and you lose a double-digit lead and you end up being down, when you walk into that fourth quarter, you know what time it is. And there's a lot of questions about it. Last game, we were looking for LeBron, and he really didn't do much in that fourth quarter. And so watching him become dominant the way we know he can today, seeing him excited, seeing him rejuvenated, and seeing him take control was ultimately what made us feel settled in that fourth quarter. And you could tell the entire team ran off that energy as well. But we got to talk about your boy Markieff Morris, man. Markieff Morris, 16 points, 4 of 5 from 3. Literally had 4 3-pointers in 4 minutes. The guy went nuts today. And a lot of that what had to do with just shooting with confidence. And if you didn't watch the first half of the game, then you kind of missed really where that hot streak started. And he scored 2 points on a layup later on. But for the most part, most of his points came in those 4 minutes. And we saw Markieff get a lot more burn today. He had 23 minutes today, mainly because Dwight Howard was out. And then going into the second half, JaVale McGee ended up being out. But to be honest, even if they were available, it didn't make sense to play them in the lineup. And I'm sure you guys shared the same frustrations I felt when you saw JaVale McGee in the starting lineup again. And to be honest, it's nothing against JaVale as much as it doesn't work with the 2 big lineup in this setup. 80 at the 5 with a Markieff Morris who can stretch the floor at the 4 makes so much more sense than a JaVale who clogs the lane and an AD who's trying to be aggressive in the paint. It's just too much that they can collapse on, and we saw that coming out in the second half. In the third quarter, we saw the difference. In the first half, we saw Markieff Morris early. We saw a lot of him, and he made his presence known zone from beyond the three-point line, which really opened up the paint for Anthony Davis to do a lot of work and a lot of damage. But we came out in that second half, and JaVale McGee started off that second half, and we went back to having the same issues we've had in previous games and in the previous series with the Portland Trailblazers. Some lineups, especially against small ball lineups, having the length may be an advantage in rebounds and things like that, but at the pace that the Rockets run, it just doesn't make sense. And so tonight it worked in our favor, having Markieff Morris on the floor. The question is, with his performance tonight, does this mean that he'll get more minutes in Game 3? I don't anticipate that JaVale will be out very, very long. It said that he had ankle soreness. But let's just assume that there is no JaVale in Game 3. Let's just run with that hypothetical question. Does Markieff Morris get these minutes? Do you slide AD to the 5 to start, put Markieff at the 4, and get out to a good start and establish dominance as you did today in the first half? Do you run with that lineup to start off and then begin to make minor adjustments as we go? And of course, we cannot forget Anthony Davis tonight, who had 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists. Now, Anthony Davis was actually a -7 in the plus-minus category, and I'm not totally sure why that is, but I will say this: when he was aggressive, it made a difference in how everybody else was shooting. He shot 24 shots tonight, far and above more than anybody else on the team. LeBron only shot 17 shots, was a little bit more efficient at 10 and 17, but LeBron was 15 and 24, and my boy was doing work. But Anthony Davis putting up a 30-burger tonight, that makes a difference in the confidence and the swag of how you go into Game 3. It also reminds you that you have the upper hand in the paint. PJ Tucker tried to guard him. Harden tried to guard him. Covington at one point tried to guard him. There's just nobody who can dominate AD. They even double-teamed him. He turned around and still hit the shot falling away. There's really nothing you can do with AD. And when he realizes that, it just makes a difference in how the rest of the team plays. Putting up 34 points tonight is part of the reason why you had people like Markieff Morris hitting 16, going for 16, because AD being aggressive in the paint, they collapse in. Markieff is open on the wing. Kuzma going for 13. Rondo going for 10. Some of these things were available because Anthony Davis was so active in the paint, and of course, LeBron James. And now, let's just get to him. Let's just get to your boy. Let's just get to Rondo. Are we seeing playoff Rondo? What you want to pay attention to is not so much the points. Rondo scoring 10 points is obviously a huge plus. But the question you want to ask yourself is, can he give us 9 assists? This is what we brought him in for, to be a playmaker, to give us assists, to make things happen on the floor when LeBron can't. We actually saw a lot of minutes where Rondo was on the floor with LeBron, and tonight it worked. A vastly different game than Game 1. And part of that may just be because of the way the defensive sets were going. Part of it may have been because they did go with Markieff Morris more and having much more of a small ball lineup. Not totally sure, but what we saw tonight, if we can get that consistently, then he becomes an asset to this team and not a liability like he was in Game 1. Let's just go ahead and get to all these questions, because I'm sure you guys have a lot you want to talk about, and I'm down to talk about them. Anakat Mohan from YouTube. What a game. I was about to turn my TV off after the first half. Saw the score and had to turn it back on. And you know the Lakers are really good for giving you a reason to come back on, even when you think the game is out of hand. Good and bad. And today, it was for bad reasons, giving up a 21-point lead at one point. The Sports Beard. I bet Chaz is on here tonight because it's a Lakers win. No. Though you don't understand, man. Chaz be chomping at the bit when the Lakers lose, man. He has a lot that he wants to say. And he's very truthful with his talk. But he's on a trip today. And this weekend for Labor Day, and he will not be available. Sean M. From Periscope. Still wasn't impressed with the Lakers tonight. Should have won by more. I'll say that, yes, but we also have to recognize that not only are you in the playoffs, but you're in the second round. You're not only in the second round, but you're also going up against two really Hall of Famers in Russell Westbrook and James Harden. And so this is different than Damian and CJ, who obviously can get off and do their thing. But Russ plays like a man with his hair on fire, And James Harden is just known for drawing fouls, getting people in foul trouble, getting really hot from the three-point line. Tonight, he wasn't as effective as he normally would be. But it was good. Lakers did what they needed to do tonight. And really, I know everybody in the Rockets team was in double digits, but that's kind of what you want. What you don't want is you don't want Harden going for plus 30. He only had 27 tonight. Eric Gordon having 24, and Russell Westbrook only having 10. And that's what you ultimately want. Where we really failed was with how many threes they hit. But that's what the Rockets do. Period. They do it to every team. They're hot and they're cold. The Lakers responded well. Of course, they gave up that lead, but a lot of that lead being given up was rotation, not the players, okay? Once again, why JaVale was starting in that third quarter, I do not know, but Frank Vogel has already showed in the season that he's willing to make halftime adjustments, and he won't necessarily go into the third quarter the way he started off the game with the starting lineup. Why he did it tonight, I am not totally sure. Laker Metropolis from Periscope, doubling Harden is pretty much dead in the water since they're shooters. No, absolutely not. Once again, you want the other shooters to shoot, right? Because what you don't want is you don't want Harden getting hot. This is where essentially you kind of pick your poison, okay? And this is what the Rockets are going for. Going for a small ball lineup essentially is saying, I want all shooters and we're just going to trust the three, okay? So in that situation, there's nothing you can do. There's no defensive team that's going to shut down the Rockets in a series long term, okay? So what you have to do is pick your poison. You got to find who you want to let open. Of course, Westbrook was an asset to the Lakers, liability to the Rockets tonight. We left him open plenty of times, right? Of course, PJ Tucker being in the corner is not good, but with the Lakers going into that box defense, that 1-2-2 defense that was running zone, it really confused the Rockets. And you want to double Harden. You can't go single coverage on Harden. You just can't. It doesn't make sense to do that. You need to double him. When you double him is the most important part. And part of that, just being honest, is the reason why LeBron had 4 steals and Rondo had 5 steals. Now, that's 9 steals on 2 players right by themselves. So we don't want to downplay what was happening tonight. Doubling Harden did have its advantages, okay? And we had some moments, okay? We had some moments tonight where we lacked on defense, but that's okay as long as you respond to the gut punch. Anakat Mohan, playoff Rondo is real. Looks like Rondo is our best defender on Harden. I know how he can be a nuisance on defense. Yeah, I was saying this all during the game. Rajon Rondo was saying something to Harden, and I couldn't tell what he was saying, but he was saying something so much. I mean, you could tell it was getting in Harden's head. Harden is not normally a talker, okay? He's normally a screamer when he scores or does something miraculous. But for the most part, you never hear Harden talk. But Rondo is talking the entire game, and I can't wait till the day where they decide to mic my man up because he was talking so much trash. I could tell, but it was subliminal. It wasn't Gary Payton loud, but it was subliminal, and he was getting underneath his skin. And you're right. For whatever reason, Rondo seems to play great defense on Harden. There's a couple of moments where he got blown by and a couple of moments where he missed the defensive rotation, but I'll deal with that if you're going to give me 5 steals, and that to me makes a difference. Dwayne Wade, I don't know about doubling Eric Gordon. That part is weird, and that's where that's another one of your pick your poisons. Eric Gordon really has taken the spot of what Westbrook was supposed to be. You guys see I'm struggling with Russell. I can't say it together. But Eric Gordon has been much more consistent than Westbrook, and so he's kind of the two-headed monster that's kind of filling in right now until Westbrook figures out his shooting woes. And so you got to double Harden, but you don't really know what to do with Gordon. And Gordon can shoot, and when he gets hot, it's a problem, man. It's a problem. So it's hard. It's hard to deal with it. And once again, I know everybody's going to harp on that moment where we lost the lead, but that was far more rotational than it was anything else. Markieff Morris was out way too long in the second half before he got in. JaVale was in should have never been in the third quarter, to be honest with you. And so even Dwight would have been a liability tonight because you need to have, when you're going up against shooters, you need to have not only defensive-minded people, but other guys who are able to stretch the floor. The Rockets are number 1 in defense in the playoffs right now. And part of that reason is because they have mastered their rotations in defense. And the way you keep that thing honest is you have a great big like Anthony Davis who can stretch the floor, a Markieff Morris who's gritty who can stretch the floor, LeBron who can shoot from the logo, and then you can put other people there. You can put a Caruso there who's able to cut to the paint. We saw 2 times tonight Caruso and LeBron on the fast break. These are things that you don't have to think about it, right? God bless his heart, Rondo. When I see him on fast breaks, I get nervous because he doesn't always make the greatest decisions. But when Caruso and LeBron are on the fast break, there's way too many highlights to validate Caruso being on the floor. Another rotational issue in the third quarter. So I put a lot of that on Frank Vogel more than I do the players. Jason Jeter, that third gave me a heart attack, but happy we came back in the fourth. Sad that JaVale and Dion seem to be out, but it does help us with going smaller and playing more Morris at 5 and KCP Rondo. Yeah, and shouts out, man, to JaVale, once again, and Dion. Dion surprisingly got some early burn, man. Got some early burn in the first half, and then had a pulled groin. And I don't anticipate him being back in this series. If he is, I don't really know how good he'll be. He really relies on his explosiveness in the whole nine. But we'll see. We'll see. But it is sad to see them go. I really wanted to see Dion try to get off tonight, especially with Markieff Morris going. It was gonna be good to see the bench get going, and the bench contributed tonight. 3 players in double digits, but it would have been good to see Dion get some burn as well. Blake Sinclair, YouTube. AD has to play every playoff game like that. Absolutely. I mean, that needs to be the baseline foundation. I think he can play better than that. He was a -7 tonight. I think he can play better than that. But the idea, though, is that when you're AD, the idea of what we want to see from him is just consistency. If you're going to do this today, don't turn around in game 3 and give us the opposite of tonight. We need you to be just as aggressive, just as angry. I mean, hitting your shots the way you were tonight. That it's necessary. It's necessary. Jason Jeter from Periscope. Be out, but does it help us with going smaller and playing more Morris at 5 and KCP Rondo? Yeah. Oh, I already read that. But yes, it will help us in that. It's good to have Morris. That was a good pickup for a big that helps us, especially with KCP and Rondo. Al Sanchez, I thought Davis was not aggressive in going to the basket. Tucker owns him. Absolutely not. Tucker does not own him. There's no way in the world Tucker owns him when AD put up 34 points tonight and he only shot 1 3. That means everything was happening in the paint. He was 15 of 24 tonight from the paint. And he only made 3 free throws. That means that majority of his points came from the paint. AD was a beast tonight, man. You don't get 10 rebounds. That means you out-rebounded Tucker when you were in there, and then you put up 34 points on him. AD did his thing tonight, and shots at Tucker, man, is let's just be honest. Tucker plays above his weight class, man. This dude is he's short, but he's not small. He's a thick dude, and he's gritty, and he loves to play. And everybody on the court respects Tucker for his play, even his road and journey to being on the Rockets starting in 2007 to the present. The way he put in his work in Greece and overseas and came back. He's a gritty dude, but AD gave him the business tonight. LeBron in black. Yeah, Hamad on Periscope. AD needs to come. I already read that. Al Sanchez, Morris does better at the 5, pushing Tucker around. AD is soft at the 5. I don't know where you guys are getting that. I don't know if we need to go back and pull some highlights. But Tucker's rough in general. Tucker's rough in general, man. Tucker's rough in general. But I will say this. AD, his game is just... He can stretch the 3. We saw him doing pull-up jumpers. I just want to make sure that we're all seeing the same stat line, right? Like, he scored 34 points and only had 1 3 and only made 3 free throws. So that means that 6 of his 34 points were either from the free throw line or from the 3-point line. Everything else was in the paint or hitting mid-range. The dude was out rebounding in the first quarter the whole 9. So I'm not sure if we are missing that. Leonard Buchanan, Houston is like a baseball team that only swings for the fences. Leonard, that's the perfect example. That's a perfect example. They are a swing for the fence team. D'Antoni has always been like that. He was with that with the Lakers. And in fact, that was one of the biggest problems when he was coaching here, was that there was no adjustments that were being made. And you could see it tonight. The issue is not so much that the Rockets adjusted in the second half, is that the Lakers didn't keep going with the same formula. I'm going to put tonight's collapse of the lead on the coaching staff. That's a Vogel issue. We question him now, just to be honest. We question him when he played Rondo 25 minutes in the first game. He played him 29 minutes tonight, and it made a difference. Double-digit points and 5 steals, okay? and 9 assists. The dude was doing work tonight. So I don't know if Vogel just trusts the trends or whatever it is, but JaVale starting against this team really shouldn't even be a question. JaVale and Dwight should not be playing unless we are in serious foul trouble and you got to pull them in. But them playing the 5 with AD at the 4 doesn't really make sense. We need a JR sighting. J Nix TV. J Nix TV, I want to point this out because it was good. I was worried about JR and his mentality. I know he's trying to get back in. I know he's trying to make a name for himself, trying to get back in the league, starting really with next season. He was a late pickup, obviously, now, and he's not going to get much burned. But seeing him active on the bench and seeing him excited coming into timeouts and being one of the first people on the floor to meet the guys, that's what you want to see from JR, even when he's not in the game, is seeing him engaged. Chemistry is a huge part. They've already said that the Lakers have the loudest and most active bench in all of the playoffs. And that makes a difference when you get down. When you get down and you lose a 21-point lead or 14, 16-point lead, and your bench is still active and still talking, and they're still hyping you up and they're still gassing you up, that makes a difference, especially when you don't have the Staples Center crowd. So shout out, man, to JR tonight. Davis responds well after bad games, Leonard Buchanan. Absolutely. Absolutely he does. He responds well. The issue is that we don't want a bad game to have to be the reason why you turn on what he did tonight. Also, it shouldn't take wearing those black jerseys for the team to play aggressive the way they did in the first half. I don't know what it is. Once again, I've said this all season. They respond to being disrespected. There was a point where Anthony Davis, the 1-3 that Anthony Davis hit, when he hit the 3, he turned around and he looked directly at the Rockets bench and said something and kept walking because he knows the disrespect that was coming. They were talking to Westbrook all game today. All game they were talking to Westbrook. Why? Because he disrespected them in the first game, cursing everybody out. Wasn't even a crowd there, cussing out all the kids and the baby mamas and all of them, just cussing them out. So they respond well to disrespect, but we don't want the disrespect to have to be the precursor to them playing well. It should be self-motivated. It should be the Mamba mentality internally. You're gonna wear the Mamba jersey, have the mentality the entire playoffs. LeBron could go to the rim as many times as he wants. He should do it more. Al Sanchez. I wish he would. I saw something tonight that reminded me how old LeBron is. It really did. When they went to a timeout and he went straight to the bench because the man was winded. And he ain't young Bron anymore, man. He ain't young Bron. So he does like what Kobe did. And Kobe's like last year's. Kobe said, I only have a few more of these dunks. I only have a few more of these, running down, chase down blocks. Because it's just not, once you get to a certain point in your body just doesn't respond. What's funny is that I'm 2 years older than LeBron. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, he looks like he has done more with his life in the 35 years than I've done in my 37. Shout out to my birthday being tomorrow, turning 38. And so, LeBron is doing his thing, man. I wish he would go to the bucket more. But it looked like he was winded today. I counted about 12 times they passed up layups in favor of kicking it to the wing. Leonard Buchanan. Yeah, I'm not sure why they did that. But I saw that too. That was really weird. Kyle Davis, Rondo was much better tonight. Didn't try to do too much like in game 1. And listen, maybe it was about learning the Rockets in game 1 and just making better decisions. Rondo is a high IQ player. Sometimes it works too well and he overthinks plays and he does things that are way out of control. But tonight, it felt like he had a better grip of what the Rockets were doing defensively. The Rockets didn't change anything defensively. They did the same thing they always do, and the Lakers responded well. But a lot of that I count to playoff Rondo, not just on the offensive end and being able to get 9 assists, but once again, I keep going back to these 5 steals. That's crazy. That's like 2K stats when you get 5 steals, man, and you're not even the starting point guard. So that's normally something that we would look for. Avery Bradley to have 5 steals and stuff like that. And obviously Rondo is not Avery Bradley, but he did a great job defensively tonight. Blake St. Clair, I like Rondo on the court with LeBron. Keeps the mental pressure off of him having to make the whole game. Less turnovers for both. Blake, that's a great point. And I saw it tonight. Once again, I'm glad you pointed that out. I saw it tonight watching Rondo with Bron, especially when they were making the comeback. I was questioning what was going to happen when Caruso was in, and were we going to see Caruso and Rondo swap? And we didn't see that. We saw Caruso, we saw Rondo, we saw Braun, we saw AD, we saw Morris, and that really felt like it was a great lineup. And interjecting KCP in and out, Kuzma wasn't as effective in this lineup. It's just the Rockets are giving him fits in the foul trouble. But once again, he did score. Tonight, Kuzma put up 13 points on 6 of 7 shooting. So he was efficient tonight. 1 of 1 from 3. Had a steal, had a block, was a +8. But you can tell he's struggling because in the 21 minutes, he had 3 fouls. That means it's a foul every 7 minutes, which is not ideal. But once again, and Blake, I'm not keeping up for my boy. I'm just saying, dude did all right, okay? But you were right about Rondo, right about LeBron. New Wins Order Periscope. The third quarter had me stressed. I was ready to break my phone. My wife and I were in the room, and part of the reason why it was so long for me to set up is because I didn't even trust the last minute of that game. I just felt like every time we were getting momentum, we would do something. And a lot of it felt rotational to me. That was frustrating me the most. Was it just felt like Vogel was making some really weird decisions. But I saw something else. I just want to point this out real quick. This is a little bit off subject, but I saw something that was good to me. Harden in the very beginning of the game made D'Antoni challenge a call so early in the game when most coaches know wisdom is you don't challenge a call that early in the game, even if it is valid. You don't waste it in the first quarter, especially in the playoff game. D'Antoni listened to Harden and ended up losing that challenge. There was a point in the second half where LeBron wanted Vogel to challenge something, and Vogel didn't do it. That, to me, is a sign of a strong coach. Understanding that your player is always going to be passionate, always going to be upset. But this is the second time we've seen this. This is the difference now, right? We saw this with the Clippers the other night. Patrick Beverley getting mad at Doc, getting so mad that he grabbed Doc by the arm. It's like, you challenge this call right now. And then you saw tonight where you're watching Harden get on D'Antoni, and you're watching these coaches bend to their players, and it doesn't make sense. Stick with the strategy, and tonight the Lakers stuck with the strategy, and that really made me feel good, even though I questioned his rotations. Anakat Mohan, our bench was so good today. Yeah, man, it was. It was good today. I was actually excited about that. I was worried about it, to be honest with you. I was worried, was it going to be one of those games where people were not going to hit shots? But people were pretty consistent today. Even KCP did fairly well tonight. 1 of 2 from 3, only had 5 points. Danny Green had a sighting tonight, 3 of 5 from 3 with 9 points. And once again, that's about what you want from Danny Green. About 7 to 9, maybe 7 to 10 points with a few threes, being efficient and playing good D. Tonight he was a little bit off with his hands. With fouls, he had 3 fouls tonight, which is fine for Danny Green. He's normally more than that, but we want to see him do a little bit more than that. D Million on Periscope, LeBron dagger, absolutely, and the bench went nuts. D Million, Skip just said LeBron is clutch. There's no way LeBron. Yo, somebody validate that. If Skip said LeBron is clutch, then I don't know. I don't know what's getting ready to happen. Then the world's getting ready to have an entire heat stroke. 24K Petty Cousin, unnecessary stress. It's the playoffs, people. The championship is on the line. Elimination games are here. You're going to be stressed. Listen, we're not having a Warriors year. We're not about to sweep our way through the playoffs. But let me just remind you that the Rockets took the Golden State Warriors to 7 games. Okay, and a lot of what they did then was with the big. Right? That was with the big. So now they're even more free to run, and you add a Westbrook in there. And I'm telling you, like, the Rockets are not something that you sleep on. And I'm saying that as somebody who lives in Houston. I can't stand the Rockets, but I respect them, and they're going to stress you. The Rockets go on runs. It's what they do. They are good for that. They've been good for that all season long, okay? What you want to do is jump on them when they get cold, and we had a chance to do that in the second half, which is part of the reason why we were able to close out. I thought we did better with Westbrook in there. Every team on earth does better with Westbrook in there. I don't know what's going on with my man. I believe in Westbrook. I think this dude is a perennial all-star. There's a reason why LeBron picked him for his team along with Harden. Westbrook is a magnificent player. Something is going on with him, and I don't think it got nothing to do with our defense, because we're sagging off of him so much, and we want him to shoot threes, and we want him to shoot jumpers. What we don't want him to do is to take off and go down the lane. He did that a couple times tonight, but his shooting right now has been atrocious, and I cannot figure out what's going on with him. Blake Sinclair, That Wesley Wabbit, Russell Westbrook. You see me trying to get those words out. Lakers wanted this game more. We need a game 7 kind of attitude every game to control this series. Absolutely, man. And this is what I love, man. I love it because the Bucks are on the ropes, right? And so if you can really get past this round, and I know we're not supposed to be looking forward, but get past this round, get past the Clippers, you really have a much easier way, because I believe we match up way better with Boston than we do with the Milwaukee Bucks. That's my personal opinion. But let's see. Let's see what happens, man. They wanted it more. They got to come out with that attitude that they want to get the chip. The Rockets really don't need Westbrook. Laugh out loud. When he gets going, then they need him. Chaz Pearson, great win, Laker Nation. I'll be back for post-game on Tuesday. My boy Chaz, my boy. Good to see you, man. Hamad, the 3 points today, unleash AD from the Rockets D. Yes, and a lot of that was Markieff Morris, because when you leave a guy open and he hits 4 threes in a row in 4 minutes, that's on your defense. That's on your defense. And it wasn't like he was being challenged. The dude was wide open. And the Lakers offense is not so, it's really not diverse. It's really not complicated. It's really not exotic. So when you let somebody like Markieff be open, that's just bad defense on your side. And the Lakers exploited it tonight. AD and LeBron's aggressiveness will win us the series. Our entire hat hangs on their aggressiveness. Glad AD came to play early. Absolutely. And shout out to Keith too. Prophet Pearson makes an appearance. Once again, we call Chaz the prophet because every time he says something's getting ready to happen, it's the truth. Durrell Morris. Periscope. They have no answer for AD, and when he realizes this, we will not be stopped. The league doesn't have an answer for AD. A big who can move like a point guard, who can spot up and shoot the mid-range, which is butter, who can do a step back and hit you from the three, can shoot well from the free throw line. For whatever reason, he stopped doing that when he got to the bubble. But he's just, he's dynamic. A runner-up to Defensive Player of the Year, should have been Defensive Player of the Year. The dude's phenomenal, and I'm so glad he's a Laker. If Morris doesn't hit 4 or 5 from 3, what is the end result? BDA pink. I don't know. That's almost like saying if Eric Gordon didn't score 24 points, what's the result? If it was a 5th, we'd all be drunk. Why not giving Kuz more minutes? Kuz won't get more minutes. And he's playing decent minutes. He's playing 21 minutes. But with the return of Rondo, now it's you're going to see a little bit of the rotation shift, and much more. It's about the Houston Rockets and how they play defense. So here's the thing: we're used to Kuzma being a cutter. We're used to Kuzma getting to the rim and things like that. But right now, Kuzma's going to have to be a catch and shoot 3 player. He did what he had to do tonight with the 1-3 opportunity he had. But right now, spacing the floor is the most important, and secondly, being able to play defense. And tonight, he was just handsy, man. 3 fouls, and he was picking them up. He was picking up fairly quick. And so if he wants to keep minutes, he's going to have to learn how to get the defense going, still score like he did tonight. He was great scoring, but keeping his hands from putting the Rockets at the foul line, because they were in the penalty. They were in the bonus for a lot of these quarters, man. And that's what gave the Rockets the ability to slow the game down for themselves, be able to build momentum, things like that. James Michael on Periscope, Rondo showed you his use. You can hear him talking. You can't miss his voice. And this is what PJ Tucker does for the Rockets. He's a talker. He talks against the other team. He's constantly communicating. How many times did we see Rondo pull everybody in, preparing them for the next defensive play or preparing them for the next offensive set? That's the coach on the floor that they were missing. Now, if he makes great decisions with the ball and not just communication, then it's really deadly for Rondo to be on the floor. It's when he makes bad decisions despite his communication that tends to bite us in the behind. AD, this is Snacks HC on Periscope. AD and LeBron was aggressive tonight. They absolutely were. Al Sanchez, I'm so tired of Tucker getting offensive rebounds and getting position underneath. Well, gritty players are going to get that. Montrezl Harrell is another person like that. Once again, it's not always about skill, and it's not always about length. Sometimes it's about understanding positioning, and this kind of goes into, I'm just throwing it back here, this is what made people like Rodman so valuable, is that Rodman just understood how to rebound. He understood where to be. He had way more energy for way more minutes in the game, and that's what PJ Tucker is, man. PJ Tucker knows that he's not there really as a scorer, even though he hits corner threes. He only hits corner threes. You ain't going to see PJ Tucker at the top of the key. He's going to be in the corner. Why? Because that's the only real good shot that he has. Outside of that, his job is to get in there and be gritty in the paint. And so, I give him this. He's been a rebounder against every team. Okay, so I'm not going to look at us any different. The one person I think would have made a difference against him if it was going to be a rebound battle would have been Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is the muscle we would have needed against them tonight. And the Rockets had 35 rebounds. We had 41. But here's the key. The Rockets had 22 assists, and we had 30 assists and 11 steals tonight. And that made all the difference. Shooting 61% from the free throw line is probably where most of our points went away. If you think about that, and we were only 11 for 18, but that means if we would have just hit 7 more shots, we would have been, it would have been a much different score, and the momentum would have shifted a little bit differently. But we were missing shots. AD went 50% today, shooting 3 of 6 from the line. Anakat Mohan. Danny Green had his shot today. 3 of 5 from 3. 9 points is all I need from the DG. LeBron, Kobe-esque dagger. D Million. Yeah, man. He and it was at the clock running down, and yeah, he hit it, man. He did what he had to do, and we are so grateful that he's on our team. Daryl Morris. Exactly. AD is the key for this series. He has to play for the 5 for the rest of the series. That's not going to happen, but he does need to play 5 more. But he's not going to play for the rest of the series. Vogel, Kyle Davis, has to get these lineup rotations in check. I agree. Morris in, more McGee in less. And we're going to see. Obviously we don't want any player to get injured, let alone our own players. But JaVale and having an ankle injury may change and shift how things going. I don't know how Dwight's going to work out. So we'll see what happens in Game 3. But you better believe that the Rockets are going to go back to the table and come out with more energy. And Vogel's going to have to really make sure he goes back and watch what we did well and prepare for the things that we did not do well. Daryl Morris, Vogel needs to give Kuz more shots. It's hard, man. It's hard. When you have Morris going and you got AD who you want to be aggressive, you have LeBron who you want to be aggressive, it's hard. There's only so many shots that are going to go around. And part of the problem is, you have two players that play the exact same position as Kuz. And both of them are your superstars, AD and LeBron. Obviously, LeBron's playing far more point guard, right? But the idea is that in that front court, man, down there, down low, it's hard. It's hard. Kuzma's going to get his games in as long as he's still active and engaged. And once again, he scored tonight. Once again, he had 13 points, adding into Morris's 16. That's 29 between the two off the bench, not even counting the 10 that came from Rondo, who gave us 39 points. That's good bench production, considering how we've played majority of the season. LeBron played some great D in the fourth, absolutely. Blake St. Clair, AD playing with an aggressive mentality is the key to the playoffs and the finals. We're speaking that into existence. Jason Jeter, what would you like to see in Game 3? He played great today, but Rondo playing these heavy minutes. Rondo's going to play heavy minutes. Period. You're going to see him between 20, 25, and 30 minutes. Unless something drastically happens in the point guard position, you're going to see that. And part of the reason you're going to see that is because of what we saw tonight, his ability to facilitate and take pressure off of LeBron. And you saw it tonight. And that's what we wanted in Game 1. I think myself, and I got to just be honest, I was questioning the decision for that because the man hadn't played in 6 months. But something is up with Rondo today. I mean, he played like he ain't been off. And it was great. Once again, 10 points, 5 steals, 9 assists. That if he gives you something consistent like that, where he gives you great defense, he may not have 5 steals, but he's active with his hands and with his mouth. And if he's giving us assists, playmaking between 7 and 10 assists, and if he just hits at least, listen, he went 1 of 5 from 3. I'm good with a 1 of 3. I would have liked to see 2 of 5. He missed the other 4 pretty bad. If he could have hit just one more 3 to keep the defense honest, I would have been happy with that. But he was great tonight. He was great tonight, in my opinion. He was 4 of 9. His mid-range game was butter today. They sagged off of him when he hit the elbow, and he just took advantage of it and hit that thing great. And I love it. So that's what I want from Rondo. Be great with your defense. Continue to facilitate, giving LeBron some ability to kind of get a rest in the corner and use his IQ without the ball to be able to best play make and set people up for success. And then, of course, hitting people with the mouth talk. Give me the Gary Payton. We got lucky that missed free throws did not hurt us. James Michael, absolutely. But listen, it's one of the things that we've been talking about every single game, and I don't know what we're going to do to fix it, but Tucker's like a discount Barkley. Leonard Buchanan. Yeah, I could see what you mean by that. Yeah, I see what Leonard, tell me how old you are, because I want to know how much Barkley you actually saw. because the comparison is sort of there, but there's a lot of things that Barkley did that PJ Tucker ain't ever gonna do. PJ Tucker ain't gonna be a Hall of Famer. I'll put it that way. Discount Barkley. J Nix TV. You think the Nuggets have a chance? If I'm being honest, I think the Clippers. I don't. I mean, it really depends, man. It depends. I don't want to put it past Murray. Murray is a phenomenal player, and I can't stand his guts. I don't like Murray. But in this day and age, 2020, where we need as much peace as we can get, I will say this: the dude is doing all that he can to make things work. But the issue is that they're saying Jokic may not play in the next game, and if Jokic doesn't play, I just don't know. I don't know if they can pull it off because Jokic was so important for the Clippers in that second game. But either way, I think the Clippers are going to get past them. We'll see. Maria Garcia, thank you for the love. Good to see you. Credit to Rondo for being ready so early after coming back. Some players need a few games to get their rhythm back. I think Rondo was chomping at the bit. I think when he was hurt and in rehab, I think he was watching every game. I want to say this, and this I don't want this to sound blasphemous to some, but there is a certain level of preparation equivalence to Kobe with Rondo. Rondo eats film. He eats it. I mean, there's not a point in the day where he's not at least watching film. I will promise you that tonight Rondo's watching film. He loves it. He just digests it. He loves watching stuff. He loves talking about it. Kobe talked about that when we went up against the Big Three, about how knowledgeable Rondo is. And so I'm sure he was eating a lot of film and ready to come back and had already thought out a game plan. He didn't execute well in the first game, but hopefully he can continue to do it for the rest of the series. Dwight didn't get no minutes today. Like it. Hope Morris can be consistent. I like the fact that Howard didn't play any minutes and he was okay with it. Now, I can't remember if he had a sore knee again, but whatever the case, Howard was active on that bench, yelling, screaming, the whole nine, man. Like, he was active, cheering on Markieff, cheering on cheering on AD when AD was going at the 5. That's what you want. Joe Donuts. Nash gets the Nets job because he's white privilege. I don't know. I could care less about the Nets. Daryl Morris. AD needs consistency. Amen. Anket Mohan, wear those black jersey games every game if that's what's required for the Lakers to be aggressive. Man, I just really hope we find a different way to get things done, man, because we need to be self-motivated this far into the playoffs. Only thing that concerns me is that the Lakers would be so gassed from this series that the West Finals against the Clippers might be a struggle. I don't think they will. I think a lot of these guys are ready. I think LeBron probably more. But that 4 months, once again, LeBron talked about it, and even having those 5 days off in between this series and the last series, it makes a difference. It just makes a difference. And so people like Caruso, Kuzma, Morris, like these guys ain't getting tired. They're not getting tired, man. They're ready to go. They're ready to go. And Rondo, you know for sure he ain't getting tired. This dude has been ready to go since March. So I think we'll be able to get it going. But I can't wait. If we can get past this series, to see Beverly and Rondo go at it is going to be fantastic. Somebody getting ejected. Chris Caldwell, great trapping on D. Yes, the timing of the trap. I really need our boy Pete Zias, I need him to do a Lakers film room on timing of the trap of the D, because I think a lot of us, especially in my younger years when I was watching basketball, I always wondered why wouldn't they just trap them as soon as they get off half court. But the truth is the timing of the trap changes the complexity of where that person can dump off to, because there's going to be an open man when you trap. And today our timing was it was beautiful today, which part of what led to our 11 steals. Kyle Davis, happy birthday, bro. Thank you. Showtime Forum, happy birthday, D. Thank you. I understand AD had a great game. However, he needs to do better when double teamed. I mean, listen, man, I don't know what else we need to do, Al. I mean, to be honest, he did what we needed him to do tonight. He was aggressive. He made 15 of his 24 shots. The only thing that I would say had nothing to do with the double team, it was him at the free throw line. That dude could have almost 40 points tonight had he hit the other 3. But, to me, he did everything he possibly could, man, tonight. Daryl Morris, happy early birthday, bro. Thank you. Jay Knicks TV, do you think the Nuggets stand a chance? Once again, answered that. El Sanchez, happy B-Day. Thank you again. You weren't scared in the third, my man. Seth, yeah, I said it. I tweeted it out. I said, we'll settle in. But I ain't going to lie. I was yelling. I didn't sit down one time. during the third. Daryl Morris, I agree. Vogel's rotations were solid in the second half. Chris Finn, it wasn't so much the rotations in the late third and the fourth. I was okay with those. It was bringing JaVale out in that it was bringing JaVale out to start off the second half. I didn't like that. I didn't like the JaVale minutes. I felt like JaVale and Dwight are essentially the same player with two different I guess, well, I don't know what you want to say, like two different skill sets essentially, but they're essentially the same thing. They're older players who can't keep up with the Rocket speed. Period. AD and LeBron played aggressive tonight. Yes, once again, we keep talking about the aggressiveness. I think that's going to be the key to every single game, not just the Rockets. If we see the Clippers, be aggressive. If we see the Boston Celtics, be aggressive. The way we beat the Heat in their own house while the Milwaukee Bucks have been struggling is because we were aggressive and we out-hustled them, and that's what we're going to need for every game. Lakers D and traps equals great work to keep Harden from heating up. That's what you want, Chris. You do not want Harden to heat up. Harden getting 27 points tonight, I'll take it. The dude can put up 50. Let's not forget what this dude was doing up until March. He was putting up literal MVP numbers. Obviously, in the bubble, people have found a difference. I think referees are calling the game really weird, which in this situation, it benefits the Lakers because normal calls that Harden would get, he's not getting them. And we saw a few points like that tonight, and I like it. Glad a lot of folks stopped watching NBA. I hope more and more stop following the NBA. Brad Winstead. Yeah, I don't know if you're in the right room for that. On account Mohan, that was Skip's wife tweeting from his phone. I used to be a huge Mavs fan. Then when a black man was totally racist against a white man, then when a black... I don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying. Ant-Man, James Harden and these offensive fouls he gets away with, gotta stop. Hey, man, that's his bread and butter, bro. Kevin White, no, Toronto is a problem. Toronto is a problem. I will say that. Now, that is one team that does scare me. I don't think they're going to win, personally, but we'll see. Should the Lakers try to get the ball out of Harden's hands? Laker Metropolis, I think the timing of getting the ball out of Harden's hands makes all the difference. I think the biggest defensive adjustment the Lakers are going to need to make is deciding how to cover Gordon when you trap Harden. Because the two things that we saw today was that when the ball swung out of Harden's hands, it either found its way to PJ Tucker in the corner after a few passes, right? Or it found its way to Gordon. Now, Gordon ain't really passing. Part of the reason why we had so many more assists than them is because when Gordon got the ball, he's great at creating his own shot. He's great at going off the screen and off the pick. So he's able to get his own shot. Covington is a spot-up shooter. PJ Tucker's a spot-up shooter. So what we got to figure out is we can keep the shooters covered. We can rotate to them when we double up. But we got to figure out how do we handle Gordon, because we can't trap Gordon. We did that a couple times and it didn't work. You can't trap Gordon and Harden at the same time. So you got to figure out what you're going to do, because if the ball makes it to his hands, it's going to make a difference in how that offense flows. And Harden doesn't have to do very much. They easily could have won the game tonight. They easily could have. Had the Lakers not gone back to the lineup they were supposed to, which they did, the Rockets could have ran us out the building. Thank God we made the adjustment when we did. The Rockets don't need Westbrook the way they play with Harden ball dominant. If they use Westbrook right, they would be such a better team. Yep, Blake, but that's, again, it's D'Antoni. He's just not going to adjust, and it's one of the problems that I think is going to be the reason why he gets fired this year. Kyle Davis, Westbrook always plays hard but doesn't always play smart. That's the issue. He's a turnover machine. Leonard Buchanan just need the bench to be ready. And I mean, keep those hands right here. Catch and shoot. KCP hit your threes. Danny Green, just give me 2 or 3 of them shots. Just let 2 or 3 of them fall. I'm good. The Celtics are also a problem. Brown and Tatum give Lakers fits. They do. But I'm going to say this, Kev. If you make it past the Rockets and you make it past the Clippers, you're battle tested. Because I personally think the Clippers are a far better team than the Celtics. The difference for the Celtics, to me, is not so much Brown and Tatum, because you're going to have that. You're going to have the Kawhi, and you're going to have the Paul George. You're going to have that. You're going to have the Harden, and you're going to have the Westbrook. The difference for the Celtics is they have Kemba, and that's the part that gets me scared, because small guards who can shoot, that's what really gives us fits. So we'll see. I thought the refs were calling it one way until Rondo's foul was overturned, and there's nothing they could have done about that. The fact that it was even called a blocking foul was crazy. Everybody who looked at it said that's a charge. So for whatever reason, the refs have been on some other stuff, but Tiago MB, Lakers need to box out. Absolutely. Especially that one guy named PJ. Are you in favor of Caruso Rondo minutes together, Sanchez? I'm in favor of Caruso and LeBron at all times. Caruso and LeBron together is just as effective as LeBron and AD. There is something about their chemistry, understanding. Just think about this. All of the highlights that we have for LeBron and Caruso, and there's a lot, they all come on breakaways. So I want you to think about this. The breakaways are coming because of steals or because of getting the defensive rebounds and getting out ahead. And whenever Caruso was in the game, there was a disruption in how the Rockets rebound, a disruption in how the Rockets' fluidity of their offense, and he breaks things up. And that's why you saw 2 breakaways with LeBron and Caruso with lobs. That's what I want to see. Caruso and Rondo, I didn't see enough of what that really does. Rondo is much more a playmaker looking for the open shooter, and Caruso is not so much a shooter. He's great defensively, great IQ, great instincts, but for the most part, I think it's more about Caruso and Bron. LeBron had some of the most disrespectful blocks I've seen versus Westbrook this series. Listen, he didn't already posterize him in the first game. Body bagged him. And then, in this game, sent that thing, almost all the way back to Houston. And it's great. Kevin White, playoff Rondo was a game changer. Absolutely. So glad he decided to turn it on today. Chris Caldwell, wondering why Rockets didn't play Rivers more. He made good plays in game 1. Yes. The issue is the Lakers, as crazy as it sounds, the Lakers' length is a problem. And the issue that we had, the reason why everybody's pushing for AD to be at the 5 is because when AD's at the 5 and he's the biggest guy on the court, and they already are playing small ball, then that means that everybody of length is at an advantage on the wing. Markieff Morris, Kuzma, yada, yada. Austin Rivers really becomes a liability when you have people who can cover him with length, right? But, I don't know. They probably have their own separate reasons, but I was happy that he wasn't in there. Rivers' team tends to play well against the Lakers, but tonight it didn't make a difference because we were playing too good. Leonard Buchanan, 51. I don't know what 51 means. Mark Goodman, Caruso still can't make an open 3, but playing good D and making plays along with the big 2. Kevin K. White, PJ is a discount, period. Barkley was a beast. Could have said it better myself. We have the best bench support of all teams in the NBA. We do, man. Nobody gets hyped like we do. Can you imagine if we win the championship? They think we celebrate now. Whew. Good God. Happy birthday, D. Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy birthday, bro. Appreciate that. My wife's birthday is today and mine is tomorrow. Happy birthday, man. Jay, I don't know if you're a guy or a girl, but welcome to the September family. Shout out to all the September birthdays. They mean a lot to me. Technically, Nash is African, born in South Africa. Touche. Can't argue that. The quick start was key tonight. Absolutely. Should Morris start with JaVale injured? I think yes, but AD at the 5, and then I think you bring Morris in at the 4. The issue with that, just being honest, and it's all going to depend on if Dwight plays, is that when it's time to sub out your 5, who do you bring in? Right? I think that's going to be the issue. Because that, as much as I didn't want to see JaVale in there, he did allow Keith not to have to play too many minutes, or AD playing too many minutes at the 5. So we got to see. To be honest with you, just being honest with you, man, like if JaVale is honestly injured in game 3 and Dwight doesn't play, that means you're going to have to bring in Keith, and that means you're going to probably have to bring in Costas, maybe? I don't think you bring in Devontae Cook. I think you got to bring in, you have to have somebody else available who's able to at least give you some length and waste some fouls. So I don't know. The Lakers need to solve the corner puzzle. Mario Goodman, absolutely, because we suck at it. Are we going to have Lakers versus Celtics? I don't want to get too far ahead, Al, but I want it so bad. I did not anticipate the Bucks having the trouble they are having with the Heat. I think this next game is the gentleman's sweep. I think this next game for the Heat, they're going to take care of the Bucks. I could be wrong, but I don't see it. No team has come back from 3-0, and Giannis is injured. So, I don't know. After watching today's game, what additional adjustments would you like the Lakers to make? I would love for us to have set rotations, number 1. I think all of us can agree that the rotations need to be better. And then number 2, deciding how you're going to rotate beyond the pass out when you trap. So when they trap and they pass it out, I want us to have a plan for our rotation to keep the corner covered, because PJ Tucker is not moving from that corner. He's going to be in that corner, period. Covington, probably going to be at the elbow of the three-point line, and Harden is just really going to be the initiator of it all. So handling Gordon, handling Tucker, those are the two biggest adjustments I want us to make. And then lastly, it's not really an adjustment, but just start making your free throws, period. LeBron had 7 turnovers, though. Anakat Mohan, he did. LeBron had 7 turnovers, and a lot of that had to do, to me, because of the decisions he was making when it got late in the clock. If you notice, he held the ball a long time, and then once again he held the ball for a long time, and then he would try to make a pass, or he would try to drive baseline. There was one point he tried to drive baseline and pass it over to AD in the corner. It was holding the ball too long. That's probably another adjustment I would make, is that too. Houston had 22 threes and still lose. Good sign for us. Absolutely. Blake St. Clair, sadly, that amount of turnovers has been good for him lately. Yeah, Blake has a point. We hate saying that, man. We hate it. But maybe playoff Rondo, and maybe we should just call him Rondo until he's more consistent in the playoffs. But if he can continue to take pressure off and still assist and do some of those things, maybe it'll give LeBron the efficiency that he needs with handling the ball. Barkley is still a beast. Ask any buffet. September birthdays. Yes, sir, Jay. Blake St. Clair. THT might get some run. He might. We'll see. Keep it smaller with no JaVale. Absolutely, man. This might be the first time I think I've gotten through all the comments. But listen, man, shout out to you guys tonight, man. Tonight was one of those nights where the Lakers took care of business. They did. It was ugly. It got ugly at a lot of different points. But the bottom line is this. The Lakers have tied the series. It's now back to an 0-0 in my mind. And now it's really the best of 5, if you want to put it that way. And so the Lakers have a job to do. The Lakers need to get rest. We need to figure out who's injured and who's not. We need Vogel to make his adjustments on the rotations. And then lastly, we need to come out with the same energy, the same effort, and really, jerseys aside, the same Mamba mentality, man. We're going to drive that thing. We're going to drive that nail into the coffin until that thing is done. Because listen, I think this is what we're used to. And the last time we were in the playoffs, and the last time we were going for championships, it was that mentality that carried us as Laker fans, that carried Staples Center when the energy was feeling real weird and we weren't sure we were going to win. When Shaq was in foul trouble and Kobe would come back in and do miraculous things to keep us in the game. It was that level of morale that Derek Fisher talked about that gave him the ability or the thought process to be able to shoot the way he did with less than a second and make that famous shot that he hit. It's that mentality, man, that you're never out of it. You never take your foot off the gas. They are not better than you. Never will they be better than you, and you own them. That level of mentality not only comes in the game, but it comes in preparation. So hopefully this Rondo will carry off into the tomorrow, and instead of them playing Madden tournaments, and now that that's over, and Quinn Cook won, shout out to Quinn Cook winning that. But now that that's over, now we can watch these guys get down into the film, get gritty, get your mind right, get prepared. Know that Harden and Westbrook are going to come out flaming. They're going to come out ready to light us up. And we got to have a plan for that. We got to execute. We got to hit our shots. But man, listen, once again, there's no fan base like the Laker fan base. The quiet is kept here in Houston. Majority of the people out here are Laker fans too. That's why you ain't seeing too much noise from Houston fans on Twitter. So right now, do what you got to do. Happy birthday, man. Happy early birthday, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Is it your birthday? It'll be my birthday in 48 minutes, and I'll be asleep. Hallelujah. I like ugly wins, though, although it could be nerve-wracking at times, but it battle tests you. Daryl Morris. Lakers ball above all. They have a new Madden tournament started too. Lord Jesus. Can we just get rid of the Madden tournament? Well, maybe let me leave it alone. I don't know what it's like in the bubble. Maybe that's what you need to keep your sanity, because I'm out here living my life, and I don't know. The new Avengers came out, so maybe that's something that I would be doing. I don't know. In any case, do the thing that we always do. Wanakita, Kobe, and Gigi. We need to be faster. Absolutely. Do the thing that we always do, guys. Hop into the DMs, hop into the comments. Listen, you guys don't realize it, but people like Jared Dudley, like, they watch this, man. Coos, they see this. And so, listen, let's get into their DMs. Let's get into their comments. Let's gas them up. Let's keep them focused, man. Let's remind them that it's 824 forever, man. It's Mambacita, number 2. Like, let's remind them that we have a big goal. We have a lot riding on this, man. And that, listen, we are excited that they have brought us to the playoffs, but the job is not done. The job is not done. We want rings, okay? Playoffs is fine, but we want rings. And so we want to gas them up, get them ready for that. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Showtime Forum fam, you guys are the greatest. And I'll see you guys at the end of game 3. And as Chad said earlier, he'll be joining me. We're going to take all your questions. I can't wait to see y'all. Have a great night.